Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to my No Man's Sky video. This is Shaolin Magi, and this is going to be a multi-video series on building a mining base. So I'm going to try to share and go through all the little ideas that I use, just things to maybe make your base a little cleaner looking, and some ideas to maybe help the build go a little bit faster and a little bit more effective. And there's, a couple challenges you may run into more than likely, and hopefully I can address those in this series. So if you're getting ready to build a mining base, you didn't just start playing the game. You're not like a total beginner. But there are a couple things you're going to need to get before you even get started on the mining base. So as you can see, I am here at the anomaly right now, and the reason I'm here is you're going to need just a couple pieces of equipment, and so we are going to go over what they are. So stick around and I'll be right with you. Okay, I'm back. So where I'm standing now, you probably are familiar with. This is where you get all your upgrades for, your multi-tool, your suit, your starship, your exocraft. And you've probably been to this little station right here, the construction research station. So it's going to be the first place we go to. So there's going to be a couple things that you're going to have from this station, and basically they're all on this little page here, industrial modules. Okay, now I assume you already have electrical wiring, right? I'm pretty sure of that. The pieces you're going to need, though, is going to be right here under the wiring, this mineral extractor. Okay, now I can't remember how many salvage data these things cost. Shouldn't be too much, but anyway, so you're going to need the mineral extractor, and then that's going to open up underneath the supply depot. You're going to need that. So we need the mineral extractor, the supply depot. You're going to need supply pipe, and you're going to need the gas extractor, and you're going to need the magnetic generator. All right, so I'll go over those those 5 things one more time. So you're going to need the electromagnetic generator, the gas extractor, the supply depot, the supply pipe, and the mineral extractor. Now, a helpful thing to get also, but it's not required, is the electrical cloaking device, or the electrical cloaking unit. Now, this is not a necessity, because a lot of things I'm going to talk about in the video will keep most of your wiring hidden, right? But this is a nice unit to have, absolutely. So, but as long as you have these 5 devices: mineral extractor, supply pipe, supply depot, gas extractor, magnetic generator, electromagnetic generator. If you have those 5 units, you're good to go. Now, if we go over here to our multi-tool specialist, okay, you're going to need something from him. Okay, and what you're going to need from this guy is going to be this right here, the survey device. Okay, now in order to get the survey device, you will need to get the waveform recycler above it, basically just to open this up. So shouldn't be too big of a deal, but you absolutely need the survey device. And that is pretty much everything that you need from the anomaly. So I'll catch up with you down on the planet. All right, everyone, I'm back. And I am at one of my bases here, and I'm going to need to be at a base where I have a base computer to run over a couple of the concepts I want to talk about. Um, but right now, since we just got back from the anomaly, and if you just bought those 5 pieces of equipment that I was talking about, and the survey device for your multi-tool, okay, this device right here, um, I'm just going to do a quick little tutorial, or I'm just going to run through how to use this thing real quick. And I figured a good way to do that is just use a base that I'm already at, right? So this is one of my older mining bases I updated not too long ago, but this is a uranium/oxygen base, right? So I'm getting uranium and oxygen from it. And I do have an electromagnetic hotspot that's giving me power to the base. So let's go ahead down on the ground here. All right, and first things first, we'll go ahead and seal this hole up. Okay, and then I'm going to take this guy out. All right, so to use your survey device, you're going to, well, I don't know if you're playing on PC, Xbox, whatever, but I'm on PlayStation 5. So if I hold in my left trigger, it brings up, your analysis mode. All right, now down at the bottom, we have analysis mode if we move our direction stick to the left, or I'm sorry, to the right. This is our target sweep. We use this a lot when we're doing missions, looking for a specific object or building. So next to that, you see the little lightning bolt symbol. So this is going to be our electromagnetic signal. And you can see we have a signal here, okay? And it's telling me in this direction around 292U. If I keep running in this direction, I will come across a electromagnetic power hotspot. It says it's a class B. Okay. Now, if we move the signal with our direction pad to the right one more time, we get a mineral survey mode. That's telling us I've got an A-class mineral right there. And you can obviously see this is my uranium building right there that's holding my extractors and supply depots. If you move the direction pad to the right one more time, we get our gas hotspot, and that's telling me that in this direction, around 178U, that I have a gas hotspot. So here's what we'll do. I will now. I am at a different hotspot, or the hotspot that I got for the electromagnetic, right? This is actually not the hotspot I'm using. The one I'm using is actually further away than this, right? But I've had this base for a long time, and I didn't know all the little sort of maneuvers or tips and tricks. And so what we're going to do is we're going to run towards this electromagnetic signal. Who knows? I may make my electromagnetic building over here after this. So we're just going to go ahead in this general direction. All right, let's see where we're at. So we're only 80U away. Okay, we're 50. So we're getting really close to it. 24. And you're going to get as close as you can. And this thing is now starting to count down. Okay. And we've got a B-class hotspot. And if you look underneath that B-class, it says local field strength and max field strength, okay? I'm standing in the perfect area. So again, we look over it now. Let's say I'm not standing there. Let's say I'm like right here. You can see the field strength is now 68. You want to try to get that as close to 73. It's going to be tough sometimes getting 73. So if you can get it one underneath, then you're doing really well. Okay. So we're going to try to get that to 72. You might have to move. There we go. You might have to move forwards, backwards to the side, but just try to get to one underneath of the max. All right. So now you're going to set a save beacon right down at your feet. So I'm just going to back up and pull the save beacon to where I'm at. Okay. Now, if you look under my menu, you could see that I can't put the save beacon down because I have 5 save beacons on this planet. Most of them are pretty much just marking out autophage sites. Okay. But that's what you would do, right? So again, just to reiterate one more time, you're gonna find your hotspot where it's 70% of 73. So we want to get to like 72. You're just gonna move and you're gonna watch that number go up or down. Okay, and we're there. You're gonna go out of analysis mode, and then you're gonna make a save beacon, and then just back up a little bit, and that's where you were standing, and then plop it down right there. Now you can color it whatever color you want to make it, right? For electromagnetic, I usually use like a sort of a light blue or a light green, right? But that's up to you. I usually go by the color of the resource. So if I got an oxygen hotspot, I'm going to make the save beacon red. If I'm mining for dioxide, I'll make my save beacon blue, right? Now, if I'm mining for ammonia, that's green also. So, you can color them however you want, but that's basically how to use your survey device. Okay? All right, let's go to the next part. Okay, so I want to talk about 2 concepts. Okay, and the first one I'm going to talk about is what I call extensions. Okay, in other words, extending your build radius. All right, now in the previous section, we went over how to use the analysis visor, right? Or the survey device, I'm sorry. And you could see when well, now it's not shown, but when I did my electromagnetic survey, it was, I can't remember, but it was roughly around 300 U. If I do my mineral one, that was really close, right? It's that building right there. That's 100 U away, or 108, something like that. And my gas hotspot is 173 U. Okay. Now, in No Man's Sky, from where your base computer is sitting, right? Mine's inside the building, just really close. You get 300 U distance to build, right? Now, there's a couple ways to extend that distance out quite a bit, and you're going to run into plenty situations on planets where your bases are not going to be nowhere near as close as or your hotspots are not going to be nowhere near as close as the 3 hotspots I have here. Okay. Sometimes you're going to get in situations where they could be 600-700 U away from you, and I'm going to show you how to be able to utilize that area. Okay. So I want to give you a little example of this, an easy example to follow. So if you look straight ahead, I'll try to put my little cursor. You may see it. You can see my starship, right? It's way off in the distance. It's 636 U away from me, right where I'm standing. Now, if I go to where my base computer is at, okay, which is pretty much right underneath me, my ship is now 670 U away from me, okay? You're going to run in situations where a lot of times one of your hotspots is going to be really far, right? So here's what we're going to do. So you're going to need to have your base computer down on whatever planet you're planning to make your mining base on. You have to have your base computer down, and we're going to go through sort of the steps that takes when I actually get to the planet that I plan on making a mining base on. But I just kind of want to cover these two topics because we're going to be running into them a lot. Okay, so you got your base computer down. Okay, so we're going to pretend, we can try to pretend that building that I built there is not really there, right? We're going to act like this uranium hotspot I got right here that's really close to me, we're going to act like that's all the way out where our starship is, right? So we're going to put on our mineral mode. That's saying 86U, right? We're going to be running this way, but you would be running, you're going to aim, you're going to run in the direction of the hotspot you're going after, okay? And you have your base computer down. Now, if you push up on your direction pad, or you go into your build menu, whatever system you're on, you can see that you've got your full build menu right here, right? Everything you need to do your building is up here, okay? Now, when we start getting beyond the 300U mark, and of course for me it's going to go out further because I've already got something built there, okay? But you can see, now that I'm quite a ways away from it, when I open my menu, I lost my build menu. I only have my deployable technology. And we need our build menu, okay? So what you'll do in that case, you'll start running back towards your base, right? Not too far, run a little bit, check your menu. It's not there yet, so run a little bit more towards the base computer. Check it, not there yet. Check it, still not there. Still not there. Still not there. And now we've got it, okay? So we're going to stand right here, and I'm going to point towards my ship. Okay, and my ship's all the way over there, okay? So what I'm going to do, standing right here, double check, make sure I got all my building materials, and I do. I'm going to go to the wood section. Now, you could use concrete or metal. I'm just going to go to wood, and I'm going to choose this thin timber wall, and I'm going to select it, okay? And I'm going to go into camera mode, right? And I'm going to move sort of up and forward as far as I can get, okay? Okay, now I can't go no further, and I'm going to set this down on the ground in the direction of the hotspot. In this case, I'm trying to get to my starship, so I'm going to set this down in that general direction pretty far from me. Okay. Now, as you've seen, it wasn't too much further beyond this point to where I lost my build menu. Actually, right here. But if I run towards that piece of wood I just set down, okay, you can see we've got our build menu available, okay? And right now, from the base, we are 291U. So actually, we're within the 300. Okay. Now, we're going to aim towards the starship. Now, in normal case, you're aiming towards your hotspot, right? Say you're looking for your mineral. You're aiming towards that hotspot. But I'm just using my starship in this example, so I'm going to run a little bit of ways towards it. And at some point, I'm going to lose this build menu again because I'm going to get too far away from the base. Or in this case, I'm going to get too far away from that piece of wood I put down. So let me keep running until I actually lose it. So I lost it. So again, we're going to rinse and repeat. We're going to run back towards the wood, but not all the way there. We just want to run close enough to get access, and we got it. So we got the build menu again. So again, we're going to go ahead. I'm going to select the thin wood wall, and I'm going to go into camera mode. I'm going to kind of go up and forward. And then I'm going to try to get this thing on the ground as far away from me as I can get it. And that's about right there. Okay, so now we're going to run to that. Or jump and fly to it. And as you can see, we've got our build menu back. Right? I'm getting closer to my starship. So again, I'm going to run towards here. Check my build menu, it's still there. Okay, we lost it, so I need to move back a little bit. All right, and I've got it. So again, I'm going to select wood or timber, select thin wall, and I'm just going to move up and forward. And I'm going to try to set this down on the ground as far as I can get it from me, which is right about there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move towards that. We're going to move beyond it. Okay, I've still got my build menu. Still got it. Still got it. Lost it. So let's head right back towards that wall. Okay, we got it. So what I'm going to do now is do the same thing. Wood, thin wall, camera mode up and forward. Okay, and again, we're acting like this is the hotspot we're aiming for, right? But I'm actually, let me go up more. All right. So we're going to run to that. And I wanted to put it a little bit past it, right? I just want to show you what you can be capable of using this. All right? And I'll go a little bit beyond that, right? Because you can build quite a bit further than 300U in this game. You just got to know how to go about doing it. All right? And we'll call that a day. All right? We're going to end this section right here. So right here we have our build menu, right? And let's see how far we are from the base. We're 800U away from our base, from my base, okay? So, so anyway, once you would find your hotspot, let's say you found your mineral hotspot, it's right here, okay? And you've got the local field strengths, 1 point underneath the max. And of course, you would just set your save beacon down. Now, this is pretty important. When you set your save beacon down, right, you're going to wind up running back towards your base. Do not delete this wall, okay? You're going to leave this wall here. You can delete the other ones you set, like that one ahead and the one before it. Do not delete this wall. You want to keep that there, all right? So that's basically what I call extensions. It's going to be necessary at some point for you when you start building, so stick around and I'll talk about the next concept. All right, everybody, welcome back. So the next thing I want to talk about is connections, okay, or connection points. Now, when you build your bases, your mining bases, you're going to have, it doesn't even matter if your bases are fairly close to your base computer, like the home portion of your base, your mining base. You're going to have to more than likely make at least one connection point in between the base and say like the building that's holding your mining extractors, right? Most of the time you're not going to get one solid clean run of a pipe from one point to the other or electric wire. And a lot of times it could be like 175 to 200U and you're going to have to make a cut. You're going to have to cut the pipe or cut the wire and reestablish a connection to get it all the way to where you want to go. So with my bases, I like my bases to have a clean look to them. So what I did right here, and this is just, it's a little miniature example of what I want to show you that I do. Now you don't have to do this. None of this is necessary. This is just for the look or the aesthetic of your base. So I built a small little example here of, I guess we would say this would be our home base where the base computer is. Now, I would have put a teleport system in here, just in this example, but you can only have one at one base, and I already have a teleporter at my main base. Also, I went up to my main base and I deleted the electrical cloaking device, okay? So if there's any wires running anywhere, you're going to see them, right? So an example of that is if I take a wire and run it from right there to right there, okay, you can see that wire. All right. However, I want you to look and see that the lights are on, okay? So the electric is connected here, okay? Now, it's not perfect because if I walk back here, you will see that I've got all the wiring showing. And generally, but this is good enough. If you're just building a really simple mining base, you just plan on stopping by and grabbing the material you need and leaving, you don't necessarily need a cloaking unit. However, like I said, when you have the extra salvage data, I would definitely suggest getting one. But I do this even though I have a cloaking unit, and I do this even though I will use the cloaking unit. I usually just, okay, will run my line. Okay, I'll get rid of that and get rid of that. I will just run my lines. I'll start with whatever I want and I'll move it down. I'll cut it, and then I'll take that connection to my main source. Now, I like to use light boxes, okay? And that is these things right here. I like using light boxes as my connection points. Not necessary, though, because you can just make your connections wire to wire, okay? But I use these. These are pretty convenient, pretty handy, all right? So if you want, you can go through that extra step. It doesn't really take that much longer, but then again, you don't have to do that. It's one example of how I do things. And this is not actually the most important part of the connection thing I want to talk about. So this right here is representing the home portion of the base where you'll put your landing pad to land your starship, or you'll have your teleporter in here so you can port to your mining base and collect whatever resources you are gathering passively with your mining equipment. Okay, now that little building over there that I built, you can see that it has a supply depot on it, right? And these are the things that pretty much collect whatever mineral or gas you're mining. Now, I've got two lights over there as well, and they are on. And they are connected to this biofuel reactor, right? But as you've seen, they are connected not only underneath here. Okay, we're going to get to this in a second, but I've got everything running underground. Okay, and having everything running underground will keep not only your base, but the whole area where your base is. It just keeps it looking neat and clean. Okay. Now, as you can see, if I take this wall out of here, you can see I got a light box here, right? And you can see with my piping, basically, I blow big, deep holes in the ground, and I'll run my pipe down from the unit to that, and then I'll run a piece of piping. Well, you're going to want to have another hole established. So I'll put a flag here where I made my hole. This is my connection point. So like I was saying earlier, even if your buildings that are holding your mining equipment are fairly close to your base, now, of course, they're not going to be this close. This is just a little example, okay? But even if they are pretty close, you're still going to have to make multiple connections, more than likely. So this is an example of what I do. And I need to find my, there we go. Okay. I want to restore some of this because the hole didn't need to be that huge, right? And gotta love rocket boots. Okay. So anyway, when you can do this when you're actually doing the extension technique where you're running towards your mineral node or your gas node and you're putting the wall up as far as you can in front of you. You know, when you get to certain points, you can blow a big hole in the ground and just stick a light box in that hole, right? And then what I like to do is I like to take a flag. I like to take a flag and just place it right near the hole. That way you don't lose where your connection spot is, okay? Now you can also use, like we did before, you could also take a wall like this and just stack it too high, right? And chances are you're not going to miss that. You'll be able to see that. But I just stick a light box down in the hole. That's where I've got my wire connected to. It's all running underground, and that's where I connect my pipes to, okay? Now, let me close this up real quick. Right? So basically, if you don't do that, all right, if you don't do that, this is pretty much what you're going to get. And again, it's fine, right? If it doesn't bother you, then it's not a big deal. But this is generally this is what you will get. Okay, you're running from your mining building and you're going to hook that up to this supply depot. Okay. Now, if you don't mind piping, right, and to a lesser extent, wiring, and I say lesser extent because at some point you will get a cloaking device. And at that point, it doesn't really matter what you do with your wires, right? But if you don't mind, like, you know, wiring and piping, just running all out in the open like that, and go for it by all means. But I try to keep my bases fairly clean, and you know, it's good fundamentals, I guess you could say, to learn how to do that, right? As far as piping, you know, there is no cloaking device for piping, so if having the pipe running out in the open doesn't bother you, then you're good to go. If it does, then, you know, just make your connection points, just blow deep holes in the ground and make your connections at those spots, pretty much. Okay? So that's pretty much connection points. I will be using these a lot in the upcoming base build, so stick around. Okay, welcome back, everyone. As you can see, I'm at a different mining base right now. This is my activated indium / oxygen mining base. And that little building you see out there is my oxygen node. And as you can see, I did not run my piping underground, right? So it's just kind of out in the open. At some point I might change that, but this planet is so nasty, okay, that I'm never trying to go outside here. I mean, it's painful a lot of times, even when I got to walk outside to, you know, collect the resources out of my supply depots here. Right now, it's not too bad, but you get incredible blizzards that have tornadoes that suck you up in the air. And that is what I wanted to cover in this section. Now, this is not like typically something that I guess you would see in a lot of base building videos, but I just wanted to cover it because there was plenty of times I got sucked up in the air, and I pretty much knew how to deal with that, so I didn't necessarily die, but it's a pain in the butt, right? Okay. So when you get in a situation like this, and let me get ahead and get this out of the way for now. Okay, here we go. See what I'm saying? It makes building a base pretty difficult. All right. This too shall pass. All right. What I had to do here is I had to basically build myself a little shack, okay? And you can just build a small little, very small little shack. This thing's probably going to grab me up again. And put just a little roof on it, right? Now, interestingly enough, nice, a storm crystal. Let me grab that for sure. Okay, so this, just having this here with that kind of storm, it actually pulled me out of the building itself, right? So what I had to do when I was making this specific mining thing, I had to actually put a door here. And even with the door here, when the storm would come close, it would kind of move me around and stuff. But just having this door here, this, you know, this little thing, it's protecting you from the elements, and you're not going to have to deal with that. And with the door, you can get out, and, you know, you can do what you need to do to build the base. So I just kind of wanted to put that short little thing in here. This is a pretty extreme example of it, but when you get to the part, when you get to planets or whatever where you want to get a specific resource, in this case specifically activated indium, right? But a lot of your activated materials grow or wind up being on pretty hostile type planets, okay? So I just figured I'd include that in there. Okay, everyone, I'm back, and I am safe from the blizzard tornadoes sweeping me up. So I'm going to end this section of the tutorial with just a couple thoughts when it comes to bases, mining bases, like the philosophy or my ideas behind them. So one of them I already covered, and that's connection points. Keeping your base and the area around your base nice and clean, you know, by maybe going the extra mile and putting holes in the ground and making your connections, run your connections underground. You can run a lot of your connections like under your flooring panels and stuff. You know, even if you have a cloaking device, right? But maybe you don't have the cloaking device right at this point. If you're just getting interested in building a mining base, you may not have that unit yet, and that's one of those things you don't really need. If you're interested in building a mining base, I would say get the things you need for that first, right? That way you can get started. And it's always a good practice to, you know, learn some of the basic fundamentals just simple little tips and tricks like that. And the next thing I wanted to talk about is my mining bases, the building portions that hold the extractors, not like the area I'm in right now that has my safes and teleporter and base computer, but like the buildings that hold my extractors, they're pretty small, right? I use, for the most part now, this is a little different because this is one of my older bases, right? And when I first started building mining bases, probably like most people starting, I was like, I want to collect, thousands and thousands of different ore, and the more the better. And over time, what happens is this. So here's my main storage unit with my ores, okay? And I pretty much got a full stack of the normal type and then the activated, right? And that goes for all the metals. In this case, except for the indium, right? I have a stack of activated indium in my actual inventory because I use that quite a bit for a lot of things. Okay, so this is my storage with most of my ore. I have to have a backup storage, a backup storage, right, to hold another full thing of ore. Okay, so you don't need to build a huge amount of extractors and a huge size mining base. My mining bases typically use 3 extractors, right? So if it's an ore that I'm mining, I'll put 3 extractors at that base, and I'll put 3 supply depots at that base. And then, as you can see, I have a supply depot right here at the home base, and I have one right here. I'll get into why I do that later. So basically, I'm just with 3 supply depots, or 4 supply depots overall, and 3 extractors. I'm usually collecting roughly 5,000 of whatever element, and that's usually happening in the window of 5 to 8 hours. Okay, so essentially, if you stop by your mining base once a day, once every day, within 2 days you're going to have a full stack of ore, right? Like, pretty much like this, almost 10,000. And in most cases, that's going to be way more than you need, unless you're just mining the ore to pretty much sell, right? So you can make pretty good money. So in my situation with this activated indium base, and like I said, it's a little bit older, so I think it's grabbing more. Okay, it's grabbing 6,000. So in other words, I think I have 3 extractors and 4 supply depots at that spot. Okay, instead of 3 and 3 at the spot. But anyway, just that. If I was to come here, right, every 2 days, in this system right here, I could sell that ore, that activated indium, right, for let's just say 1.3 million units, right? That's not a complete full stack, but it's close enough that it might as well be, right? So you don't necessarily need to build a huge mining base. You don't necessarily need to have a ton of different extractors. Like I said, I use 3 extractors, 3 depots at the actual building, and then I bring 1 depot back with me. So it's not too much. But when I first started when I first started getting into base building, I was putting like 10 extractors and 15 depots down, right? And it got overwhelming. So that's just kind of a thought. One of my philosophies or thoughts. I build pretty minimal, okay? So here's the game plan. I'm going to end this video right here, but here's what I want to do. And this is what I've been doing, I started doing lately, within the last few weeks to a month. I've been visiting some of my really old bases, and I've been updating them. Okay, so here's a good example of one. It says silver dioxide radon, okay? This was one of my first mining bases, and at the time, okay, I did understand how to use the survey device, right? But I didn't understand what we talked about earlier as far as extensions, right? Really extending the range. So when I built this base, this silver base, I could not find an electromagnetic signal, and I could not find a gas signal, in this case radon, right? But I did find the silver signal. And I did what I showed you how to use the survey device. I located the strongest part of that hot spot, right, where the most power was underfoot, and I just simply built a big building there and just put all the extractors and depots in the building with my teleport base computer, right? Later on, I went ahead and I just started sort of just running around the area 400 500 U away from the base, and I started locating different signals, right? So I actually did find an electromagnetic signal there. That was nice because I had a bunch of batteries and solar panels on the roof, right? And I'd much rather deal with electromagnetic, right? You don't need batteries for that. It just constantly keeps going. But then I also found the gas signal for the radon, right? Not only that, I found a dioxide hotspot close to it. So I'm getting silver ore, I'm getting dioxide ore, and I'm getting a gas and also a electromagnetic hotspot. This is something you could maybe get into after you've gotten used to building bases. It's a way to get more out of just one base. So in other words, I used to have a dioxide radon base separate from this. This was just silver. When I discovered these other elements, I was able to delete that base off of my list, right? So sort of house cleaning, if you will, right? And plus, after you build a whole bunch of bases, you know, for me, building in the game is really fun. So this is a way for me to not only clean up my list of bases, but it's a way for me to get some building done, but I'm actually doing something useful. So what my game plan is this right here is an old base of mine. It's called Green Gas Station. All it does is it collects sulfurin, right? I call it green gas because the icon for sulfurin is green. Doesn't collect anything else. This base right here is my phosphorus base, and this thing only collects phosphorus. It doesn't collect any gas, just phosphorus. Now, in this system right here where the green gas station is, there is a planet, a hot planet, right, that has phosphorus on it. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm thinking of going into this system on that planet and looking for a hot spot with phosphorus. And most of the time, whenever you're on a hot planet, you're also going to get sulfurin. So if I can get to that planet and make a mining base that has a phosphorus and sulfurin hotspot, that means I can delete both of these bases and just have one doing what both of these actually do. So that's what I'm hoping for. It may not happen, but I'm shooting for it. So I will meet you on that planet in the next video, which will be number 2